You're watching Cablenet 13, community television for the human spirit in Kingston, Gananoque.
Somewhere out there is a guy. He's followed his team every grassy inch. He sat through the wind, the rain, and even the snow, in hopes that his team would lead all the crazy, screaming fans in a victorious parade marching across this great land of ours towards that big, retractable dome in the distance. But he can't. Because he goes to Bishop's.
Hi, I'm Tite, and welcome to another chock-full of excitement edition of Studio Q.
Hi, I'm Kirsta Teague. Coming up, we'll have coverage on the Remembrance Day ceremony. But first, let's take a look at Maclean's second annual ranking of Canadian universities.
At first glance, it looks as though Queen's has slipped a notch from last year's second-place ranking. But in fact, that slippage was the result of new ranking criteria introduced by Maclean's editors this year. Instead of comparing all 46 eligible Canadian universities in one group, the magazine divided them into three. Queen's was judged against other universities that offer doctoral programs and who have a medical school. That means we went head-to-head against larger schools like McGill, UBC, and University of Toronto. Since we held our ground and placed third, Queen's principal David Smith said students have good reason to be proud.
I think that they can take a lot of pride in Queen's. I think that they should recognize that they are a very highly academically qualified group, as all the indications show. That, as many of the indicators show, we are trying to provide the best educational environment we can, that the opportunities there for future leadership is recognized nationally and internationally.
That national recognition was evident in the part of the survey Queen's did best in, reputation. Surveys were sent to more than 2,000 people in business, government, and various other institutions across the country. The results? In our category, Queen's placed first in terms of being the most innovative, producing leaders of tomorrow, and being the best overall university. But the most talked about part of the magazine, at least on this campus, was this article by Maclean's senior writer, Brian D. Johnson. It's a candid look at sexual attitudes around campus. It's upset some students and has others worried about the university's reputation. Greg Warman has that story.
First-year economics student Rob Bowes has just had a disheartening encounter with the national media. In Maclean's recent university issue, Bowes is one of several students who is featured in the article Campus Confidential, which discussed sexual issues here at Queen's. Why is he upset? In Maclean's, Bowes is quoted as saying, "Most of the girls I know are so guy-oriented, always on the prowl. They won't pass up a chance to sleep at Leonard." However, Bowes insists that he was misquoted and that much of what he said was twisted and misrepresented. And it appears that Bowes was not the only one with these feelings. Principal David Smith attests to this claim.
I'm personally very cross that a reporter would misinterpret or mislead the students on the kind of article that he was writing.
Beyond the personal backlash that Bowes and others have received, this article has grander implications for the entire university. The editor's note speaks explicitly about the author, Brian Johnston's decision to write about this university. His choice to focus on Queen's was not an entirely arbitrary one. In fact, Mr. Johnson chose this university because of other national media attention Queen's has received. Last spring, CBC's Journal came to this institution to create a forum on date rape. Prior to that, the national media converged on Kingston for the rape trial of Queen's engineering student Robert Van Oostrum. And back in 1989, the university was the focus of much national attention as the Gordon House Nine were charged with mocking the No Means No campaign. It appears that the media blitz feeds upon itself and that Queen's will constantly have its image molded by such media hype. We asked several students what effect they thought the Macleans article would have on Queen's image.
I don't know, I think a lot of people get a false sort of image of what it's like. I would imagine Queen's would be representative of any other university as far as sexual activity would go.
The thing is, they didn't talk about any other universities. They just talked about Queen's, so it make Queen's look worse than everyone else.
I don't know, I think if some parents read the article, they might be concerned about, you know, what kind of university their kids are going to. And I think that might have a bad effect.
I don't know how it would go over with the parents. I guess that could complicate things.
We asked Dick Bowen, head of public relations at Queen's, how he thought the university could end the media frenzy and live down its sexually confused image.
Good question. I don't think Queen's will try to live it down. I think Queen's is moving on from it.
Both Dick Bowen and Principal Smith pointed out that the university has taken many steps to address sexual issues here at Queen's. However, it may be a while before concrete results of such steps are featured in the national media. For Studio Q, I'm Greg Warman.
Hi, I'm Tom Costain. Coming up later in the show, all you wanted to know about the magical 1993 science formal.
As economic times get tougher, more people are being forced to turn to services such as food banks to fulfill their basic needs. Fortunately, there are services there to help. Studio Q's Lee Bjarnason reports on the Kingston Partners in Mission Food Bank.
Have you ever walked over to your cupboard or fridge and felt like there was nothing to eat? Well, for some students, it's a reality, and they have no means of obtaining more food. It's estimated that 30 to 50 students a month visit the Kingston Partners in Mission Food Bank. Should students who have enough money to go to school be living off the charity of others? Well, the people at the food bank seem to think it doesn't matter.
The Kingston Partners in Mission Food Bank, located at 412 Bagot Street, is a non-profit organization with 4 full-time staff and approximately 90 volunteers. Everything from the van that makes the deliveries to the freezer which keeps the food cold has been donated. Danny Beeler, coordinator of the food bank, says that donations are what keeps the food bank running.
You know, most of the food on the shelf has been donated to us. We don't receive any funding of any kind from agencies like the United Way or from the municipal government. So almost all of this has been donated. And a lot of it comes from church collections or private donors, from Queen's students cleaning out their cupboards at the end of the semester, that sort of thing.
As surprising as it may be to some, there are students who have nowhere to turn for financial aid and cannot make ends meet. Keith McAllister, Deputy Commissioner of External Affairs, is doing a survey to see if a food bank on campus is a practical idea.
Right now, we estimate Queen students' numbers to be about 30 to 50 students a month. It's a little difficult for us to have an accurate number, though, because we get Queen students referred from agencies outside of the university campus.
Some people feel that students who have enough money to go to school maybe shouldn't be using a food bank. How does the food bank feel about this?
Well, the food bank feels that's wrong. I think a lot of people have misconceptions, particularly about Queen students, that most of them come from wealthy backgrounds and don't have any financial worries. And of course, we know that that's not true.
While a food bank on campus is being discussed, for the time being, students who need assistance can apply through Banry or Health Services to be referred to the Kingston Partners in Mission Food Bank. All donations are welcomed at the food bank and are put to very good use. For Studio Q, I'm Lee Bjarnason.
The Queen's Challenge campaign got a big boost this week, a $300,000 boost to be exact. That's how much this brand new computer lab is worth. It was donated to Queen's by Digital Equipment of Canada Limited. The 42 state-of-the-art computers will be used by both undergraduate and graduate students in electrical engineering and computer and information science. This week was Japan Week at Queen's and saw many activities around the campus. The week started with a visit by Japan's ambassador to Canada, His Excellency Michio Mizoguchi. He spoke Monday night at the School of Policy Studies. Other cultural events planned for the week include lessons in origami, the traditional Japanese art of paper folding. That event attracted elementary students from across Kingston. And display booths for Unity in Diversity Week were set up in the Upper Cayley this week. It's a celebration of multicultural heritage. Organizers hope it will make students cherish their ethnic diversity, yet continue to live in harmony with others.
On Wednesday, November 11th, Canadians across the country paid tribute to the many soldiers that were killed during the First and Second World War. As Sharie reports, this annual Remembrance Day ceremony is very important because our generation has not been faced with the grim reality of a world war.
For the majority of Queen's students, Remembrance Day consists of the traditional 2 minutes of silence and the adornment of the symbolic poppy. Because with our perceptions of war confined to history texts, this generation of students doesn't appreciate freedoms enjoyed or the price paid to attain them. Having been over 45 years since the last World War, one wonders if the memories of Remembrance Day and the significance of the poppy have diminished. Jonathan Bailey, AMS president, believes that memories of the war are still very much with us.
When you shut your eyes and you make your prayer, I think it's a really personal and individual thing.
Yesterday, Remembrance Day services took place on campus at Grant Hall for members of the Queen's community. The service overflowed with students and professors for whom this day held its individual significance. Men and women, both young and old, congregated under the same roof in order to share in the ceremony and solemnity of Remembrance Day. People joined together in song and prayer to salute the sacrifice of Canadians who served and died in the 2 world wars. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we as Canadians of the future took time out of our lives to reflect upon the Canadians of the past who gave all for freedom. The 2 minutes of respectful silence was observed at Kingston City Park as well. Cannons were set off to signify the beginning of the 11th hour and the end of the 2 minutes.
Number 1, fire!
Then the sound of the trumpets resonated through the park. Taps was also played at Grant Hall. Trumpeter Cinda Fleming has performed at 3 consecutive Remembrance Day services.
It means a great deal to me, this day, every year. And every year I try to think that maybe this might help me think about it every day during the year.
The ongoing social and political differences which reside on our campus and around the world did not prohibit us from remembering those who devoted themselves in the fight for peace. Reverend Brian Yealand.
We know that our country feels the broken dreams of an extended recession, the cries of marginalized and oppressed groups, the polarized visions of diverse regionalized interests. We know our nation, Canada, is strong, her peoples proud, her goals and aspirations worthy.
The service ended with the national anthem, which was, no doubt, accompanied by a vague sense of gratitude and pride. We remember those who fought and served in the war as Canadians, Anglophones, Francophones, Aboriginals, blacks, men and women. Canadians fighting for Canada.
Despite the socio-political differences within each of us, as members of the Queen's and Kingston community, Remembrance Day is a day to put those differences aside in honour of those who fought, served and survived the wars. In memory of true Canadians, this is Sharie reporting for Studio Q.
After Mech 120, numerous J sections, and more gentian violet than Quincy, the engineering class of '93 capped off their university career with this year's edition of the Science Formal. Although there were rumors that the organizing committee was in the Caribbean, the night went off with all the sparkle and glamour with which it has traditionally been associated. Tom Costain was at Casa Valanis.
Well, here we are at the 1993 Science Formal, what's known as the social event of the year. It's a moment that all fourth-year engineers have been waiting for. And what happens when you put together 125 gallons of paint, paper mache, and endless hours of manpower? It's a magical evening called Casa Valanis.
The hard work and organization for the event started long before tickets went on sale. During the summer, an art committee took care of the designs and the look of the formal based on the theme of Casa Valanis, or as many put it, the days of Asterix and Obelix. Since Grant Hall was not available for decoration until the week of the formal, most of it took place in 2 warehouses off campus. A construction manager in the warehouse would get the designs from the art committee and then give them to the engineers to work on. But it was the week before the formal that was vital. Laura Brown explains.
All the 93s who wanted to come to the semi-formal had to put in 30 hours between September and the end of October. And then this past week they had to put in another 7. And also they didn't get possession of Kingston Hall till 5 o'clock Friday night. So everything in Kingston Hall, like all the rooms, all the smaller rooms, had to be done like between last night and early this morning.
The result of the hard work was fantastic. Grant Hall and Kingston Hall were unrecognizable. There were fortresses, chariots, exotic animals, and fountains of water. What happened to the dull, stuffy classrooms that were there only hours before? Fortunately, those not possessing the honor of being an engineer had a chance to view the extravagance also. The rooms weren't the only transformations. Bedraggled, worn-out students were suddenly handsome and elegant in gorgeous gowns and tuxedos, dining in expensive restaurants and traveling in exotic vehicles.
We went to the United States of America.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah, big trip, big trip.
We went to Casa Dominica.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a really good time.
What did you have to eat?
Oh, I had a steak and Julie had lobster. The gold medallion lamb chops.
I had I had some sort of red pineapple thing, but I'm not really sure what it was.
Castle Valanus was the land of selection. Not only was there a choice of theme rooms, but there were 4 different bands to choose from, including the Mahones and the Skydiggers, as well as 3 mixed drink bars, 2 wine bars, 1 beer bar, a shooter bar, and a mocktail bar. It was hard not to find something to enjoy.
From the biggest black tie event on Earth, this is Tom Costain reporting from the Science Formal.
Ever try negotiating an obstacle course in a wheelchair? Well, teams from various faculties had to do just that Monday night as part of the 3rd annual Rehab Challenge. It helped kick off Rehab Awareness Week, which tries to shed some light onto the world of occupational and physical therapy students. The events in the competition were designed to stimulate the various physical disabilities that therapists might come into contact with in the real world. Monday also saw Student Entrepreneur Day in the JDUC. It was a chance for Queen's students to try to sell some of their own creations. There was everything from art to t-shirts available for some early Christmas shoppers. It's that time of the year again. The 1991-92 Tricolor Yearbook is out. It's about a month late, but the new book is better than ever. It can be picked up at the Tricolor office in the JDUC. And a reminder for the 93 graduates. You have until the end of January to have your pictures ready for the grad section. But if you want a sitting, you better hurry. Photographers are now booked into mid-December. And Student Health Services held a panel discussion in Lower Cayley Tuesday morning concerning body self-image. The discussion was called More Than Just a Body and looked at the way women are judged by their body appearance and how the media perpetuates those stereotypes. The panelists included a model, a nutritionist, and several women advocates.
You know, stress is really brutal. I should know, because I'm pretty stressed right now. You know, I didn't even know the meaning of the word until I came to Queen's. And I find it pops up in conversation an awful lot. So I thought, we'd better figure out exactly what it is that students mean when they talk about stress.
Are you at the library right now? Well, I have a midterm in 2 hours, and I'm studying for it right now. Are you stressed? I'm extremely stressed.
What makes you stressed, eh?
Everything makes me stressed.
having like 5 things assigned within like a 2-day period, so there's just no way I can possibly get everything done.
Competition, the lack of job positions that are available. Recession.
Most members of the AMS, I find.
Are stressed
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, you can pick them out.
What do they look like?
Well, you know, they sort of move around and, you know, they always look like they have something to do, but they're never really sure exactly what that is.
Yeah?
The stress is when someone comes up and puts a microphone in your face and says, "What's stress?"
Being put on the spot, maybe, yeah. No, I just can't talk anymore.
Girls, I admit, girls stress me out a little.
Why do girls stress you out?
Oh, well, you probably don't have enough airtime for me to go into that.
And how do students handle stress?
What else do you do?
I bungee jump.
Do you?
Beer, an extra beer.
I'm really stressed. I think I want to die.
Don't do it.
I take it out on my housemates.
Do you? What do you do specifically?
Lock them in their rooms and stuff like that.
Good.
Hurt my brother.
I don't ignore it.
Mostly ignore it.
We're engineers, and engineers don't get stressed.
So you're not stressed at all? Good.
And finally, what does a Queen's stress victim look like?
Well, okay.
A stressed look. Okay, let's do that.
Yours kind of like Warman.
No, here, I'll do that. This is a pretty stressed out.
You say that's pretty stressed, eh?
Yeah.
Look. But I'm going to be okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone always assumes that in residence, like, the floors are really loud and, you know, raging parties all the time, and,
Yeah, but believe it or not, there are some quiet floors in residence. And we'll look at those quiet floors. Ready? Here's Kathy Barnes.
We are preparing to venture where no self-professed partier would dare to tread, a Queen's University residence's study floor. The study, or quiet floors as they're known, have a 24-hour quiet policy, which may sound pretty harsh. But are they really as bad as they're made out to be? The answer to that question is no, and we're about to find out what they're really all about. This is a study floor. Pretty scary, isn't it? All the doors are closed, and it pretty much looks like nobody resides here. But people who live here seem to like it this way.
Now I'm really glad that I live on the study floor because I can get all my work done in quiet, and if I want to go out and party, I can, and I can still go back to my room and do my homework.
Yeah, well, I like the study floor because everybody on here sort of has the same kind of goals.
The main purpose of the study floor is to give students a place where they can concentrate on their schoolwork.
Oh, other floors were like loud all the time. I'd never get any work done. So I figured, well, you know, I better be safe than sorry, right? So I'd come up on the study floor.
The study floors are often also called the quiet floors because of their 24-hour quiet policy. Naturally, most don't follow it strictly, but believe me, everyone will agree that these floors are very quiet.
If you want to study, there's a quiet place here to study.
It's conducive to study.
Very conducive to studying.
Like, shh, just keep it down.
However, don't think that the quiet floor is quiet all the time. They have their own personal party hours, Fridays between 6 and 11 p.m. The real study floor would not permit Studio Q cameras to film their metamorphosis. Therefore, we are forced to perform a dramatization of a typical Friday evening on the study floor. Quite a bit of partying does occur on the study floor. And when they can't party on their own floors, they're smart enough to know where to go to find fun.
If you want to party, you can always go somewhere else.
Like go to parties and stuff on other floors. And
Just because it's a study floor doesn't mean people don't go out and party.
However, not everyone likes the noise.
It's just way too loud on Friday nights. I mean, I'm trying to work, and there's everyone running up and down the halls.
Judging by the way these guys party, it is obvious we can dispel one myth.
It's not like we're a bunch of geeks or anything.
Most people are normal.
So next time you walk onto the study floor and are greeted by barren hallways, don't be fooled. For the people who lurk behind these doors are actually a bunch of party animals when they want to be, who are proud to call the study floor home.
Wouldn't trade. People have asked me to trade, but I'd never trade. I'd never leave.
Reporting for Studio Q, I'm Kathy Barnes.
For all you sports freaks, here are the highlights of the week.
The following footage is courtesy of TSN.
Hey, after Queens sputtered to a slim 24-21 victory over McGill, the Gales got to leave the coziness of Richardson Stadium and got to go to the cow pasture in La Belle Provence to meet Bishops for the Dunsmore Cup. In Bishops, Queens was facing an undefeated team which possessed a potent offense, controlled by possibly the best quarterback in the country, Jim Murphy. The Gales quarterback, Tim Pendergrass, meanwhile, had struggled. Wow, did it show. Hey, take a look at this footage. Pendergrass throwing 2 interceptions in the first quarter alone. Bishops, luckily, could only muster this field goal and an early 3-0 lead. Minutes later, though, check out this face-masking penalty. Yikes! Hey, 15 yards later, and Pendergrass gets to give to Elberg, gets to give to Elberg again, and gets to give to Elberg yet again before taking it in with a quarterback sneak and scoring the first major of the half. The characteristically slow second half opens up with the Brad Elberg press.
A low driving kick that is taken by Brad Elberg at the 15. Elberg breaks away. He's got room across midfield. Elberg. Only one man to beat. Europe dives. Touchdown. Brad Elberg on the opening kickoff of the second half.
A 95-yard sprint, and the Gales would never look back. This one ends in frustration for the Bishops as Queens wins the Dunsmore Cup for the second year in a row with a score of 32-6. As for Heck Crichton nominee Brad Elberg, hey, he wins OQIFC Player of the Week for the 3rd week in a row. So come on, Doug, give us a smile. Give us a cheer, because the Gales are going to the Sky Dome.
And in other sports, a devastating defeat this weekend for the men's first rugby team as they lost to McMaster by only 1 point at the OUAA Rugby Championships. Final score 18-17. The loss puts an end to the Queens rugby dynasty. They had won the championship for the last 6 years. Over at Richardson Stadium, the women's soccer team hosted their league's championship. Queens was eliminated in the quarterfinals by Laurier. The game was tied 1-1 after regulation time and then tied again at 2 after overtime. Laurier took the game in penalty shots, beating Queens 4-2. They went on to beat U of T to place 3rd. Western took home the gold after beating McMaster in the finals. The men's volleyball team was in action this weekend against York. They played 2 sets and lost both times, 3-1. A good weekend for Queens in the pool. The men's and women's team hosted a tri-meet against Carleton and the University of Ottawa Saturday afternoon. They both went home empty-handed as Queens came out on top in all the events. And Queens swimmer Pete Lightbody set a new Queens record. He swam the 50-meter freestyle in only 24.17 seconds. And the women's hockey team took to the ice for 2 games against the University of Toronto this weekend. It was close, but Queens lost both efforts, 1-0 and 2-0. Is this your club?
We will now call the first Simpsons Appreciation Club meeting to order. What'd I do wrong?
Why not call Studio Q?
Simpsons Fan Club? We'll be right there.
Studio Q wants to hear from you. If you have any events, stories, or ideas that we might be interested in, let us know. We'll get our hardworking team of reporters on the case. It's quite simple. Send us a press release or fill out a press release form. They're located outside our office, room 22 in the JDUC, right by the arcade. Or give us a call at 545-6699. Our mailing address is Studio Q, care of the AMS, JDUC, Queen's University, Kingston, Ontario, K7L 3N6.
Who knows? We might just change your life.
Thank you, Studio Q.
Well, I guess that does it for this week's show. I hope everyone out there will stop by the JDUC and pick up an ornament and buy a gift for a child for the Tree of Life charity. Give a kid a good Christmas, a needy kid a good Christmas.
And I hope everyone's going out to the football game this Saturday. Are you going to be there?
I can. I'm going to Western.
I'm not going to be there either, but I hope everyone else is going to be out there this Saturday.
Because you're dressing up.
Yeah.
Kirsta is like secret, like taffeta, strapless taffeta. It's going to be peach with like pumps and pearls and a little purse.
Oh,
and
Ron. Anyways.
And lots of horses.
Anyways, we'll see you next week. I'm Kirsta Teague.
And I'm Ron Tite. See ya.
Studio Q, the Queen's weekly television show, is brought to you by Cablenet 13 and the Queen's Alma Mater Society. Tune in next week, Thursday at 6 and Friday at 4:30 on Cablenet 13.